Welcome to Engaged in Mobile Technology by Melissa Pugh. The purpose of my Capstone project was to see if the use of mobile devices have an effect on student engagement in the classroom. I implemented 2 lessons with one group of students. The lessons were designed similar in content. The main difference was one lesson incorporated the use of iPads by having the groups of students input their data and conclusions using the camera and apps. There is need for empirical evidence about technology and engagement. It is important as educators to think about the things we bring into the classroom for our students. It is our goal to prepare students to be productive members and workers of society. We need to prepare them and provide them with the correct set of tools and skills needed to operate successfully in the workforce, which undeniably includes technology. But an important point for teachers is, will it engage my students in the lessons that I have for them? If mobile devices are tools that can help to foster engagement and bring about opportunities to more students, then as professionals we have an obligation to do what we can to educate others and advocate for such tools. Another reason why I chose this capstone was that my district was implementing a one-to-one initiative with iPads this year. Teachers questioned the effectiveness of these tools in the classroom. We need evidence to help attain our support for such initiatives. The literature that I reviewed on mobile technology brought out several common threads. The ones that I chose to focus on were the benefits of mobile devices in education, teacher education that's necessary to implement such devices, the social equity that is seen as a result of these mobile devices, and the negative aspects concerning such technology. The literature on benefits by researchers such as Marty et al. Shows that scientific inquiry benefits from the use of mobile devices through such things as virtual field trips, data collection on actual field trips, and compiling and sharing of data in larger scale. Johnson found in his research of 5th graders that students were more motivated to do academic work with mobile devices incorporated in the lessons. Sharples also notes in his research of many different sources that there is significant achievement in motivation and participation when mobile technology was involved in the classroom. And he goes on to point out the vast amount of collaboration that occurred within the class as students worked to solve problems using the mobile technology as opposed to other traditional class assignments where students work alone to come up with solutions or products. James noted the benefit of ownership that students take. Students have a pride in their work that was not seen as much without the use of these mobile devices. All of these are benefits that are ones that teachers want in their own classrooms. Teacher education is definitely of great importance when discussing using mobile devices in the classroom. Success of the mobile technology in the classroom was well documented by many researchers to be directly linked to the preparation and education of the teacher. In other words, if the teachers were not well prepared and comfortable with the technology, then its use in the classroom would not succeed. Pegram emphasizes the importance of time for professional development and informal collaboration among professionals in order to alleviate concerns and increase teacher confidence. They also suggest individualizing the professional development to develop a professional community of practice. Social equity. Ochoa and Pegram discussed how the mobile technology is helping to make education more accessible to students with disabilities through the convenience of apps that allow things such as speech-to-text, word recognition, increasing visibility for the visually impaired, and others that helped students with expressing emotions. Also, Ferrer presented research that showed significant gains for students of other cultures and language backgrounds, students that were struggling academically, and students whose mothers had less than a high school education. Ferrer research shows us that these students gain more than their competitors with the use of mobile devices. This shows a significant step towards equity for all students. There were some negative aspects to the use of mobile devices. There were not as many as the positive in the literature that I read. The main drawbacks that were mentioned were things such as storage and charging. Many companies have gladly come up with all kinds of products to help with this. Pegram discusses the one that most teachers are concerned with, which is time. Teachers are concerned with the time it takes to learn the new apps and technology, as well as learning how to use it effectively in the classroom. This study took place in rural East Texas. The participants were a fifth grade science classroom consisting of 21 students. For the male students, there were 6 white students, 3 Hispanic, and 1 African American. The girls, there were 6 white and 4 Hispanic and 1 African American. Two inquiry lessons were chosen over testing claims. The control lesson, students were given 2 different chocolate chip cookies. One cookie was a regular chocolate chip cookie, the other was extra chocolatey chocolate chip. Students were given the question, do extra chocolatey chocolate chip cookies really have more chocolate? The students had to come up with a way to test their question, display their data, make a conclusion, and share their findings. The students were in 5 groups and were given a triple beam balance, plastic knives, rulers, chart paper, and markers. The experimental lesson was given the following day to the same students. The lesson was still to test the validity of claims through inquiry. This time the students were given an original Oreo and a double stuffed Oreo. The question was, do double stuffed Oreos truly have double the stuffing? The only materials that changed for this lesson was the cookie, and iPads replaced the markers and posters. I collected data through observations of the students. I documented how many questions were asked, how often students were off task, and how many students participated in presenting their findings. I also gave questionnaires to each of the students. The first question being, which lesson did you prefer, the chocolate chip or the Oreo lesson? How much did you help your group in the chocolate chip cookie lesson, and how much did you help your group in the Oreo lesson? I also interviewed 6 students and asked which lessons they preferred, which lesson they felt like they presented their findings the best, and why they thought they did best in that lesson. During the control lesson, only 6 questions were asked by the students, and all 6 concerned eating the cookies, whereas there were 13 questions in the experimental lesson, and of these, only 1 was about eating the cookie. The other questions were about the different ideas they had presenting their findings. It was a student that asked if they could do their conclusion on video so that they could all share their understanding. During the control lesson, when it came time for groups to share their conclusions with the class, only 6 students shared their conclusions. The rest of the group members did not participate in this part. On the other hand, in the experimental lesson, 100% of the students took part in the discussion of the results through video. This was student initiated. I had told them they could share their group conclusion and data in any way. Each student wanted to participate and talk about their conclusions individually. During the control lesson, I observed 3 different conversations that were not related to the lesson. But during the experimental lesson, I did not observe any. During the control lesson, I had to redirect students 10 different occasions. As compared to the experimental lesson, I did not have to redirect students at all. The last observation was the conclusions themselves. During a control lesson, the groups would present their data as a comparison of mass of chocolate from the two different cookies, and then state a conclusion. The posters mainly consisted of the two masses, drawings of cookies and instruments that they used, and a sentence or two for the conclusion. The conclusion for the experimental lesson was very different in that they used charts and graphs to show the difference in the amount of cream filling for the two cookies, and each student discussed their conclusion and how they reached it. Many observations were made of students discussing their data and explaining and helping their peers to understand the data so that their final presentation would be solid. This observation was not made in the control lesson. In the questionnaire about the chocolate chip cookie lesson, it was scaled on a Likert scale 1 to 5. 1 represented how the student felt if they gave little help to their group, and 5 represented if the student felt like he or she gave a lot of help to their group. This group shows that the control lesson, only 5% of the students felt like they gave a lot of help during the lesson. This graph is for the experimental lesson. Again, 62% of the students felt like they helped their group a lot. 0% reported that they felt they gave only a little help. Question 1 for the interview was, which lesson did you prefer, the one over chocolate chip cookie or the one about the Oreos? In response to this question, 100% of the students replied with the Oreo lesson. The second question was, which lesson did you feel you did the best at concluding your findings and sharing your results? Again, the response was unanimous, the Oreo lesson. The third question was, why do you think you did better at this lesson? Their answers to this question included reasons such as collaboration, desire to understand, iPads making it more exciting, and it gave them a better way to display their data. I'll share one student's remark. The first one we did with the chocolate chip cookies, we didn't work as much together. We did at first, but then when we had to do the part to share with the class, we didn't. Some people didn't even help in that part, but when we got to use the iPads, everyone wanted to help. This study resulted in data that supports the statement that the use of mobile devices increases engagement in the classroom. These findings, along with the research presented in the literature review, provides excellent support to bringing mobile devices into the classroom. Mobile technology stands as a tool to help bring equity, ownership, engagement, collaboration, and motivation into the classroom. Teachers need to be well supported and prepared for this influx of technology. Well-defined guidelines and procedures are important when the mobile devices are in the classroom. It is also important to be familiar with the apps and resources to be used. As teachers, we must ensure that we are reaching our students and motivating them to take charge and ownership of their learning. This type of engagement in the classroom showed excellent steps in that direction. I was greatly impressed by the overall reaction of the class to the iPads. Their motivation, collaboration, engagement, and initiative was very inspiring during this lesson. I shared their videos with their other classes in the school. Their knowledge and research was inspiring to fellow students. Technology is a part of our society, from the cashier at the local grocery store using the cash register to the CEO operating a company. Starting students off with technology early in their learning is essential. I am convinced that the more I can incorporate mobile devices in my classroom, the more my students will benefit. I plan to next look at how my increased use will affect my students academically. As an educator, we are always striving to provide those moments where true learning occurs, where students are able to take ownership of new knowledge. We are skeptical by nature of products that claim to help bring these moments to fruition. Mobile devices in the classroom is not one that needs to be feared, but embraced and learned more about ourselves so that we can better prepare all of our students for their future.